Nessa troca toda veio árabe e disse assim, eu posso ajudar? E pegou meu neto e carregou ele não sei quanto tempão lá aqui. E tem uma foto que é linda, linda, linda.
Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome to another episode of An Arab man who was donning the Palestinian flag was seen carrying a sleeping child on his shoulder as he travelled through the metro in Qatar after the Brazil and Serbia football game. Lo and behold, through the barakah of social media, it later transpired that the sleeping child was none other than the grandson of the Brazilian coach. Yes, indeed, the coach of the Brazilian football team. So allegedly, this Arab man was watching the mother struggling with the two children, and one of them, of course, was asleep or ill, and they were struggling, they were really worried. So this man, this caped crusader with the Palestinian flag, of course, he came to the rescue and he took this child, not knowing that it was of the Brazilian football coach. And that's why even the footage that you see was taken from behind. We don't even get to see the face of this caped crusader. And it was only after certain Arab channels had picked this up and covered it, and I'm shocked that this hasn't been covered in English. It's been covered in Spanish, which of course is the second most spoken language on the planet. So I'll give them that, mate. Alhamdulillah, for your viewing pleasure as the audience of Smile to Jannah, we got it translated for you guys so you could also be involved and appreciate this as well.
Nessa troca toda veio árabe e disse assim, eu posso ajudar? E pegou meu neto e carregou ele não sei quanto tempão lá aqui. E tem uma foto que é linda, linda, linda.
Because these channels picked it up, it eventually reached the coach himself and he addressed it in a press conference. And it was so beautiful because in the press conference, when he was talking about it, he couldn't hold his emotion and he started to cry. And then he expressed his desire to meet this individual.
Eu gostaria de conhecer o árabe. Porque mostra senso de solidariedade.
The unsung hero. Yeah, and he also said that this is the true spirit of the game of football. Now, I've got a few things that I wanted to say. Namely, why was he crying? Yeah, that's the first thing. Why was he crying? Well, you only cry when something catches you off guard or when something is considered unusual when it should be usual. Yeah, for example, when your mother does something for you. Yeah, she does great things every day. You don't cry every day. But when someone gives you a gift beyond their means, you become overwhelmed. So over here, this is a sad reality, yeah? That because of individualism, consumerism and materialism, me mate, me. And this is what one of these Qataris said, that in this society, you put yourself above the community. But in Islam, we put the community above the self. And number two, it has to be said, this was a man. Oh yes, indeed, because of this whole LGBTQ talk. And in LGBTQ, gender is fluid. And for the feminists, this is masculinity. The same masculinity that is constantly being bashed, called toxic. Yeah, and we're surrounded nowadays, not with the Arnies and the Schwarzeneggers, but with the Big Bang, whatever it is. And if you look at the statistics, more men are homeless, more men commit suicide, more men are working difficult jobs and die from these difficult jobs as well, and the statistics go on and on. That's why, guys, men should be protected at all costs. And if you are a man, yeah, look after yourself, hang around other men because you get that masculine energy. Go to the gym, eat good food, work on yourself, be stronger mentally, physically, spiritually, because you are to become a leader of your household. And this is not going to be taught to you by the mainstream media. This is not going to be taught to you by the forces at power because, as I'm sure you've heard by now, it's men who start revolutions. It's men that challenge power. And if you are to stop revolutions and uprising, quash the men. Keep them down, mate. Turn them into betas. I mean, if someone's struggling to keep their house in order, yeah, because women have been empowered by taking their clothes off and spending their whole day at work, getting that masculine energy, not saying that it's wrong, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, yeah. Having nurses and stuff like that, it's brilliant. But let's face it, I'm talking about the Western dynamic that we have, which isn't women just becoming nurses and doctors. It's women wanting to become men, and then a man goes home. You've got issues going on. Yeah, you got fights going on. So if you keep the men busy at home, then they're no threat anymore. And number 3, this is Islam. Yeah, this is Islam, because in Islam, we have a concept of mahram, a male bodyguard, like your brother, your father, your husband. Such relations in Islam are required to look after their women, just so they are not in such situations where they can be taken advantage of. And I wanted to share 2 narrations for those of you that are like, yeah, but what did your prophet say, mate? Beware, if anyone wrongs a mu'ahid, i.e. a non-Muslim enjoying the protection of Muslims, or diminishes his right, or forces him to work beyond his capacity, or takes from him anything without his consent, I shall be his adversary on the day of judgment. And another narration, whoever kills a mu'ahid shall not smell the fragrance of paradise, though its fragrance can be smelt at a distance of 40 years of travelling. This is what Islam says. But you're not going to see this written in newspaper columns, discussed on radio and on these talks, because it does not fulfill their agenda, which is to scapegoat the Muslims and to quash any dissent, because the Muslims are the only threat. They're the only ones that are following the religion properly, and or using Islam as a scapegoat just so you can further your draconian and restrictive laws to the masses, mate. Guys, we don't want to be people that watches stuff like this and go subhanallah, mashallah, Allahu Akbar, and then just wanders off. We saw that this man saw this child, saw this mother struggling, and something was awoken within him, and because of that, he did such an amazing act. Yeah, and I want you to do that as well. Be it £2, £5, £10, guys. This wasn't an orphan child. This wasn't somebody that was shunned by his community. Yeah, and this is how orphans are treated in some countries that people haven't even heard of. Now, how many of you even know about Gambia? It's a Muslim majority country. Yeah, so I've teamed up with my brother in Islam who is part of Spot charity, and they, mashallah, I love them because they're honest, they're transparent, and they're very meticulous about how they spend your donation money. Because guys, you don't know which action Allah will like. Look, this man just did a beautiful action. He didn't know, and that's why I do these wonderful acts. So just like you don't know which one social media will pick up, likewise you don't know which one Allah will pick up, and because of which you will be given Jannah. And guys, please donate using the link in the description. I'll see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum.